legendary Superlux HD 668B Supreme plastic quality, very lightweight, very flimsy, but I tell you what, boys and girls, legendary. For the price, I can't remember, I'm not sure what they're priced at nowadays, but I think they're, you know, like 20, 30 bucks, something like that. Ridiculously good, ridiculously good. So if you're on a really tight budget and you want awesome headphones, get yourself a pair of these. But now onto the subject of today's video, and this is the HarmonicDyne Zeus, and we're going to check it out. Let's go. Bam! Check this out. Have a look at that baby. Now this is the case that the HarmonicDyne Zeus comes in, and boy oh boy, what a bloody ripper. You know, out of all the headphones that I've got, I think pretty sure this is the most impressive case, and that's pretty surprising for you know, an entry-level headphone. I think this is a great accessory, and my first impression was just like, wow, how cool is that? So there you go, inside the box. What I really like about it as well is it comes with keys, which means, oh shit, which means you can lock the latches on the front here. So if you want headphones to take with you on the road, not only will they be protected, but you can also lock them up nice and safe inside. How sweet is that? What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. Now the HarmonicDyne Zeus here is an open back dynamic driver headphone priced at $350 US. Now it has inside, it's got 50mm beryllium drivers, or at least beryllium coated, I'm not sure. But here they are. You can see they're quite the looker. They're pretty nice looking headphones. They are a bit on the heavy side though, 380 grams, so that'll squash your neck a bit. Right, so let's start off with the build now. I'm just going to take this cable out for a minute. So the frame here it's a spring steel headband with a hard plastic enclosure, but the majority of the frame is all metal, hence the weight. They are pretty heavy. The ear cups here are walnut wood, and you can see on each one it's a symmetrical design. You've got 3.5mm connector on each side. There's a nice bit of padding under the headband there to protect your precious dome. And here are the adjustment sliders on the side. They work nicely. They do a good job of fitting your dome, and the clamping force is not too bad. It's moderate, but because of these beautiful lush thick pads here, it doesn't hurt. At least on my head, I find them to be pretty comfortable. Not as comfortable as something like the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, not as comfortable as a Beyerdynamic, for example, but pretty darn good. I love these ear pads. This is a nano velvet, I think they called it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful soft fabric. They kind of fit in with the open back theme here because they're not as closed as your basic leather or leatherette ear pads, and they're not as open as your regular velour ones. They're kind of in between. This is sort of feels like a very Beyerdynamic. If you've felt the, I don't remember what it's called, but the fabric on a Beyerdynamic headphone, it feels very similar to that. Anyway, so there they are. What I like about these, the ear pads rotate 180 degrees, so you can lay them around your neck, or you can lay them flat down on a desk just like that. And they also pivot up and down this way, so they do conform to your head nice and naturally, so you've got a pretty good chance of getting a good fit. The build quality feels good. I don't have any complaints for a $350 headphone. I know this is the same as the cheaper model, the HarmonicDyne Helios, but that doesn't bother me at all. The materials and the feel feels like a $350 headphone to me. It's nice and sturdy. As you can hear, there's no creaking or anything. There's no looseness. Very nicely done. Before we move on, let's have a look at this cable. Now, some people are going to hate this cable. Personally, I kind of love it. It is an OCC copper cable with a fabric braiding on it. Comes with a balanced 4.4mm Penticon termination. And you can see it's pretty thick there. It is pretty thick and chunky and a little bit stiff. And it doesn't wind up all that well under the Y-split. Above the Y-split is you've got this transparent TPU coating, and this feels really nice. It feels quite premium, and although the cable doesn't handle the best, I actually really like it. It feels super strong. It's got a nice length to it. I love the balanced connector there. These are the 3.5mm connectors that go into the headphone, which I'll show you like this. They just click in like that. And another thing I love about this cable is the adapters that come with it. Now, if you've got an amplifier or a DAC or whatever that's got a single-ended 6.35mm socket or jack, what you'll need is, first of all, you'll need this, which is a 4.4 to 3.5 single-ended adapter. And then you'll need a 3.5 to a 6.35 adapter, and you end up with this contraption, which is a bit of a Frankenstein chunkorama here. It's longer than my pinky, but you know, I kind of dig that. So again, the handling is a bit iffy here, but I just think it's cool as hell. Look at the strain relief. It's really good up and down. So quality wise, no question about it. It's a great cable. Just the handling could be better, but I don't care. I like it. Time to talk about the sound now. And the Zeus here has got a very warm signature. It's a very kind of laid back sound. And although it is very warm, and have some sort of bass emphasis, it's not really a bass heavy sound. The emphasis is on the mid bass, and the sub bass is actually fairly light. Like, the extension is pretty good, but the sub bass rumble is pretty light and kind of fast. So you get more of a mid bass hump, and that carries right over into the lower mid range, which is where all the warmth comes from. So the warmth from the bass is sort of inherited right throughout the core mid range, and tied in with the sort of laid back nature of the treble, the end result is a very warm sounding headphone. But the bass is not accentuated that much. It's a fairly tame in terms of quantity, and I would say the tuning of the bass is a little bit slower, but the speed of the driver is very fast. So it's a kind of an interesting synergy you got going on between the driver and the tuning. Now, what do I mean by that? Bass notes have a kind of a slightly blunted leading edge, so you get a sort of a thick, it's not a slappy tight bass like that. It's a kind of a more of an impactful, thicker bass. But the driver is just very fast. So, and of course, because of the open back nature of the headphones, there's no lingering resonance, bass resonance. So it's a thick bass, but it's a tidy and very well controlled bass, and it doesn't bloom out of control. It doesn't really sound bloated. It just sounds very warm, very comforting, very homey kind of sound, if you know what I mean. Now, as I mentioned, that warmth carries over into the mid-range, specifically the lower mid-range maintains that thickness and it is a very smooth kind of mid-range, a very chocolatey, smooth sound. Male vocals sound full-bodied and rich, and of course bass guitars, string instruments sound nice and full-bodied. The upper mid-range is slightly subdued, so female vocals, electric guitars, upper registers, upper piano registers, etc. are a little bit softened or just kind of mellow. They're definitely not shouty in the upper mid-range, but definitely not as full as in the lower mids. But overall, it's a nice sound. Well, you know what I really love about the Zeus and the mid-range is its resolution. And people have been saying detail, and I don't like, people have been saying that these are a very detailed earphone, and I don't get that. I don't believe that myself. What I think is that the resolution is very good, and the instrument separation is also very good, and it's got fast transients thanks to that beryllium driver. Forget about the driver material, it's just a fast, well-controlled driver. But what I mean by resolution is each sound, like if this was an instrument, for example, it would occupy a little space over here, and the sound is contained within its area there. It's not sort of out here, it's not all mixed in here. So you get very good layering position-wise. You have your nice vocals are centered here. You might have a bass guitar behind there, the drums behind, but that's what I mean by resolution. Detail is something different in my opinion. Like detail is thinking about, you know, a bumblebee farted at the back of the room and I can hear it, or someone had an intake of breath and you can hear it. Tiny little sounds, micro details like that. They're covered up by the warmth of the Zeus sound. So I don't believe these are highly detailed, but I think the resolution is excellent and the instrument separation is very good. While I'm talking about that, I'll mention the sound stage as well. Now, because these are an open back headphone, you might expect to have a very open, very expansive, airy sound stage. These do not have that. In fact, they're kind of akin to a closed back driver, the way that they sound and the way that the stage behaves. Now, let me clarify that a little bit. There's a lot of noise leakage coming out. There's a lot of ambient external noise leaking in. But the sound stage is relatively average in dimension. It's not big, it's not crowded or small, but it's just average. It's not very wide, and that's probably because of the sort of softened treble. But it does have a very good depth perception in front of the listener. So instrument positioning, soundstage, and imaging is actually pretty good. It does have characteristics kind of similar to a closed back headphone, but it's not open and airy and spacious and light. So if that's what you're looking for, you won't find that here. But before I go any further, let's cover the treble quickly. And as I said, the treble is softened. It's kind of rolls off. It sounds crisp enough, you know, but it's not a really precise treble. It's not an incisive, detailed treble. It's just a very relaxed and smooth treble. And it's mainly because of that, I guess, that the overall tonality of the Zeus here is kind of on the dark side. So it's a darker, warmer sounding headphone. Definitely not for treble heads. Definitely not for people who like to pick out every minute detail in the music. These are kind of just something more relaxing, laid back, just chill. Very musical. I know some people hate that term, but these are what I would call a very musical headphone. And that about sums it up, you know. So let's talk about how they fit in with other headphones. These are $350, which of course puts them exactly in line with the Hi-Fi Man Sundara here. And look, I'll just be blunt. the Zeus doesn't come close, in my opinion, to the Sundara. Sundara is lighter. I find it more comfortable. It's more resolving. It has better detail retrieval. It sounds more natural. It's not as thick. It's more spacious and airy. It doesn't have as good imaging as the Zeus, but overall I just much prefer the sound of the Sundara. Is personal preference maybe, but I think it is definitely superior in terms of technicalities and technical ability. This is still my number one pick at the $300-350 price range. This is the one to beat. And I've also got here the Sivka Phoenix. Now these are a bit cheaper. They're about 200, I think, if I remember correctly. You can see they're quite a bit smaller. They have a more simple frame. They're lighter. They also have wooden ear cups, and they are also open back. But these have more of a traditional V-shaped signature. So more bass, more treble energy, and slightly recessed mid-range. And in terms of resolution, the Zeus here is definitely better. And in terms of detail retrieval, the Zeus actually beats the Phoenix as well. I still think this is a good earphone for sort of an entry-level one. Actually, either of these, I would say, are good entry-level earphones for people who want to upgrade from, you know, if they're starting to get into the audiophile game and you want something to get you started. This is a good place to begin. But I think really if you've got something, if you've got a source that's powerful enough and robust enough, I think definitely the Sundara here is the superior headphone out of all of these. But you know, some people want, or some people like and enjoy a warmer, thicker sound. And if that's what you want, then these do a really good job of that. As I said, that resolution is excellent. Treble fatigue is non-existent here. There's no sibilance. So overall, you know, I think this is a pretty good headphone, considering it's the only the second one from HarmonicDyne. I'm pretty excited to see what they come up with in the future going forward. But yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Parfam audiophile style. And if you're new here to the channel and want to see more audio reviews like this in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.